applied to succeed retired Chief Justice David Maraga have been shortlisted for interviews scheduled to begin tomorrow morning. Although the 10 are known legal practitioners, with most of them showing at least 30 years of experience in the field, Supreme Court judges have kept off the coveted seat. But the fate of the 10 is in limbo following 2 petitions at the Supreme Court that question the legality of Professor Olive Mogenda leading the Judicial Service Commission in a move that has largely been seen as kicking out acting Chief Justice Philomena Mwilu.
The official robes of the Chief Justice are being taken off.
The derobing of David Kenani Maraga as the Chief Justice and President of the Supreme Court on his birthday on the 12th of January this year to mark his retirement upon the attainment of the maximum age of 70 years signaled the beginning of the search for his successor.
This is the third transition we are having since 2010 Constitution.
A week later, the Judicial Service Commission gazetted the vacancy in the CJ's office, asking interested candidates to submit their applications to the JSC by the 10th of February. In the vacancy notice, applicants should be, among others, hold at least a degree from a recognized university, be an advocate of the High Court of Kenya, or at least have over 15 years of experience as a Superior Court judge. Applicants are also required to have at least 15 years of experience as a distinguished academic, judicial officer, or legal practitioner.
He has worked.
The coveted seat has attracted at least 13 applicants, among them 5 judges, with Supreme Court judges including acting Chief Justice Philomena Mwilu giving the job a wide berth. Legal minds, however, argue that having worked with Maraga for years, Supreme Court judges would be best placed to ascend to the office.
We have all these issues to do with BBI, the anticipated referendum, already very many cases and issues before the judiciary and the Supreme Court, and most likely many will end up there. And also, just a few months, almost closing in on 12 months to the general election.
Headed straight into an election next year would actually put most of them in the spotlight. And if you remember, the assurances that even the president, the head of state, has made before, that we shall revisit. I don't think that revisiting is a very good idea. It's a very good experience for most of them.
Out of the 13 who applied to succeed Maraga, only 10 have been shortlisted for a series of interviews set to begin tomorrow. The 10 include Justice Said Chitembwe, Professor Patricia Mbote, Lady Justice Martha Koome, Justice Marete Njagi, Senior Counsel Philip Mururu, Justice Ndumanderi, Senior Counsel Fred Ngatia, Justice William Ouko, Dr. Wekesa Moni, and Ali Siano. Born in 1961 in Siaya County, Justice Ouko was appointed President of the Court of Appeal in 2018, having served as Judge of the High Court between 2004 to 2012, before he was promoted to Judge of the Court of Appeal in 2012. His over 33 years of experience in law gives him an edge over the rest of the candidates. But his counterpart, Lady Justice Martha Koome, who was appointed Judge of the Court of Appeal in 2012, also brings to the table a similar experience of over 33 years, having served as a High Court judge between 2003 to 2011. She holds a Master's of Law degree from the University of London and a Bachelor's degree from the University of Nairobi. Koome has been fighting for children's rights in the country. Born in 1967 in Kwale County, Justice Chitembwe has 29 years of experience in law in a long career that began when he completed his Masters of Law from University of Essex in 1994. Chitembwe worked at the NSSF between 2003 to 2009 before he was appointed as a High Court judge. Justices Marete Njagi and Ndumanderi also bring to the table over 30 years of experience, both currently serving as judges of the Employment and Labor Relations Court, a position they ascended to in 2012. However, Justice Nderi has also served in Swaziland as Senior Counsel in the Ministry of Justice, as well as President of the Industrial Court of Swaziland. Senior counsel Fred Ngatia is also eyeing the CJ's position. Born 64 years ago in Laikipia County, Ngatia holds 2 master's degrees and an aggregate of 41 years of experience in the legal profession. Should he be successful in the interview, Ngatia will become the second CJ to be appointed from outside the judiciary after former CJ Dr. Willy Mutunga.
The other good thing is none of the sitting judges has applied for this position. So we are likely to get somebody now coming from outside. And I think we are going to get a situation where the already sitting judges, the already in-post judges, will also support the new one. Because, if he comes and he finds like he's seen as a stranger, that's another problem now. The issue of settling and being accepted, appreciated by the colleagues who are already there, and not being seen as being imposed on that position.
Retired Chief Justice David Maraga's term was marked largely by a vicious acrimony with President Uhuru Kenyatta-led executive. The judiciary executive standoff began in 2017 when the Supreme Court nullified the 2017 general election in which President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy William Ruto were declared winners.
It is on record that the president threatened to revisit. And the following financial year, we saw a reduction of the development vote of the judiciary budget from 2.1 billion to a paltry 50 million.
Maraga openly admitted to have failed to secure an appointment with the president, blaming Kenyatta for refusing to appoint 41 High Court judges.
It is important to clearly and categorically state that this shortage of judges and the near paralysis of court operations has been caused by the president's refusal to swear in the 41 judges recommended by the Judicial Service Commission in July 2019 for appointment to the Court of Appeal, the Environment and Land Court, and the Employment and Labor Relations Court. The President has persisted in this refusal despite orders in 2 cases requiring him to swear those judges within 14 days.
Senior counsel Philip Mururu is also among the 10. Born 60 years ago in Elgeyo Marakwet, Mururu has served as the Director of Public Prosecutions between 2003 to 2005. Mururu, however, wants acting CJ Philomena Mwilu to disqualify herself from the interviewing process for both the CJ and judge of the Supreme Court positions. In a letter to the JSC, responding to President Nelson Havi's memorandum on him being unfit for the position, Mururu says there is a client-advocate relationship between Mwilu and Havi. Although the next Supreme Court president is expected to bridge these differences, former Director of Public Prosecutions Senior Counsel Philip Mururu claims Maraga scored fairly good at maintaining the rule of law and constitutionalism, but lacked diplomatic skills he believes he has to get the job done. He holds a Master's of Law from the University of Nairobi and has mostly dedicated his career to private practice, although he worked in the Office of the Attorney General as a state counsel in 1986 to 1992.
We will expect a continuation of the same without singing the tune of the executive nor parliament. Although there is the separation of powers, checks and balances, according to the doctrine of the separation of powers, checks and balances, it is clear how the executive checks the judiciary, how the parliament checks the judiciary, how judiciary also provides checks and balances to the parliament. For example, if parliament makes obsolete laws, the judiciary nullifies those laws.
This talk about independence of judiciary, it has always been a topical issue all through during Maraga's tenure. And I think it's going to continue again. And I think what we need is somebody who will appreciate that judiciary is independent, but there's a bit of interdependence.
But with the CJ selection process expected to begin on Monday, a storm is brewing in the JSC. A letter by Thukwe Njiru advocates on behalf of Samuel Gateri Wanjiru and a petition at the High Court by petitioners Philip Mushiri and Damaris Ndirangu has threatened to momentarily stop the search for the next Chief Justice. According to the letter, the JSC has indicated that Professor Olive Mugenda will act as the interim vice chair of the commission and Justice Philomena Mwelu as a commissioner and acting chief justice. Gateri further claims that there is a ploy by the commission to designate the interim vice chair to be the chairperson, while there is already an acting CJ who, according to Article 171, Section 5 of the Constitution, should be the chairperson of the commission. Gateri therefore claims that Mwelu ought to be the chair of the commission and gave the JSC a 72-hour ultimatum to update the office of the chairperson of the commission is not designated to the vice chair but the acting chief justice. This comes after former JSC Vice Chair Dr. Mercy Ndeche and an advocate of the High Court who was the acting chairperson after the retirement of CJ Maraga left the commission. But this letter is not the legal suit that may cripple the quest for Maraga's successor. Two petitioners have also filed a petition at the High Court arguing that Mugenda is currently a state officer serving as a commissioner of the JSC and chairperson of the Kenyatta University Teaching and Referral Hospital. The petitioners have accused Mugenda of serving in two distinct state office positions, saying she's perpetuating an illegality warranting her removal. Well, it's time to take a short commercial break, but we'll be back with